Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and this video is super unrelated to yesterday's video. Here's how some of my more controversial videos go, where I make a claim and I'm almost always historically correct, so just keep that in mind. I say, hey, this is the case. Like, this card isn't worth much. Here's a reason, another reason, another reason, evidence, past examples. I'm citing like precedent, and I know this because I sell singles for a living. Well, it's like one of my 8 jobs. And in the comment section, you've got multiple people that are like, you're wrong. The end. That's the comment. Not, here's why. Here, I'm contradicting your point because I have evidence to the contrary. Here's specifically why I think this, and this reason, and because you said this will be offset. No, you are expecting way too much from these idiots. And anybody who's just like a complete, just miserable, hateful jackass, like regardless of what video or what comment or the content, I'm gonna ban you. I've banned over 1,900 people from my channel. If you think about it, that's about 5%, and about 5% of people are miserable, unbearable assholes, so yeah, that actually does make sense. But they'll leave something like, oh, you don't even know the basics about Magic, and you need to learn how card sales work, and blah, 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 and just, you know, all this bullshit without backing it up with any proof, evidence, no, there's nothing. It's just nothing. It's just, you're wrong, and I'm so superior. Look how macho I am, leaving a big offensive comment. And you're banned. So I'm not even kidding. 0 of the comments on that video, 0 of them had any evidence or point or anything. Anybody who's like, no, you're wrong, these cards are valuable. Nobody left what would even be considered a reason, let alone evidence. Like, not even like an opinion. It wasn't just like, here, this is why I think this, or it might be true. It was just nothing. It was just such nothing. You know why? Because they're wrong. I mean, remember these cards that were hyped up to like 15, 20 bucks, and then the second they released, they just tanked down to like $2? I mean, there was a Red Goblin that did that. I know that for sure. I think maybe Archangel of Tides was that way. There was a couple. I mean, so if your evidence was, well, clearly Card Kingdom knows what they're doing, and other people who set the prices on pre-orders, no, evidently they don't. They really do not know. They cannot predict the future. They don't have a crystal ball. If they did, that's a load of crap anyway. Crystal balls do not see anything in the future. So here's my informational video about how to assess a card, because like I said, I've been selling singles for 3 years. I've sold over $100,000 worth of singles. I know what to hold on to. I know what to get rid of as quickly as possible and what to double down on and invest in, okay? That's how I make money. A lot of times I'll sit on a card saying, this is too damn good. Like White Humans. God, when was that? BFZ, I think. It was shortly after BFZ. Actually, yeah, it was the Shadows block. I thought, okay, White Humans just got infinitely better. I am not going to sell Thalia. I'm just not. And then she shot up like 4x price. There's a couple others where I'm just like, this is too good to sell for $2. I'm just not going to do it. So anyway, I know what I'm doing at this point. So some dumbass has never sold a card in their life in my comment section, leaving no evidence, or just, you're wrong, this card's expensive and you're wrong. Yeah, okay, feel free in this video's comment section to take any card from the last video and tell me why it's good, except for the Angel, which I said was good, by the way. What will it go in? Why do you think it'll go up? What's your actual reasoning behind it? Not just, oh, it goes in this deck. Don't you know that? Oh, Scape Shift goes in the Scape Shift deck. You know what? Here's how to assess cards 101. Let's start with that. So Scape Shift. When was the last time Scape Shift top 16 at a Modern tournament? Oh, by the way, it fell $7 in the last 36 hours. Uh-oh, everyone who doesn't realize how the singles market works. Uh-oh. Okay, so according to MTG Goldfish, your source for massively inaccurate statistics, Titan Shift is 1.82% of the meta. That's actually slightly more significant than I thought, but I mean, 1 in 50 modern decks at whatever they're looking at as a pool, I have no idea. Maybe MTGO, I don't know. So just short of 1 in 50, closer to like 1 in 60, that's how much of the meta this is. Wow. The Scape Shift deck is 0.84% of the meta, and at this point, they're literally measuring 6 decks. It was just 6 decks. If these numbers are from GPs, that just outlines how it's not going to win. So once again, they're not explaining where these numbers came from. But needless to say, okay, this isn't like Affinity, like Artifact Affinity, okay? That's a significant portion of the modern meta. Titan Shift, Scape Shift, and Breach Titan, which, God, I hate that deck. By the way, 0.4% of the meta. Wow. So, you know, yeah, it's not an unheard of card, but nobody's playing it. So, okay, so how else do you assess the future value of a card or the appropriate price? What's the mana cost? If it's too high, it's unrealistic for certain formats that are fast unless you can ramp. And, well, it's not even unless you can ramp. It's just the higher the cost, the less likely it is to be played. I'm not saying that you could never play a 5 cost in Modern. It's just, it's a hell of a lot less likely than if it costs 3, because it could go in any deck for 3. In 5, you got to be able to cover it, have the control, or have the ramp, or have a way to free cast it. So it starts taking up more than one slot in the deck to enable that card to be played. That's why, Omniscience is wonderful, but it's virtually impossible to actually put that in a real deck. I mean, the people who do it, it's this weird gimmicky glass cannon combo, and if it fails, their deck does nothing. Omniscience, by the way, absolutely down the toilet lately. Can't wait for it to hit 5 because it's sub 10 right now. And it will, because nobody needs this card, and that's the thing. So another huge factor besides just the cost, which obviously Omniscience is like the extreme, version there, it's your pretty basic stuff. Like, you look at a card, especially in Standard, because, Standard is what you focus on, when you're looking at the value of cards from a set that's legal in Standard. To a small degree, what color is it? Is that color being played right now, or does it look like it will be played? Like right now, if a card is red, mono red is huge. That's a huge advantage. What color combination is it? How many colors? Okay, 2 color... Okay, if that deck becomes popular, or there's already a popular one, like, Delirium, as soon as the next set came out, and everybody was like, well, there's a Delirium helper. Oh, you'd put that right in the Delirium deck. So, also, does it already have a popular deck that the card could go into? So, on the extreme end of things, Smuggler's Copter, it's colorless. Karn, colorless. You could just drop it into anything, and it's just card advantage and damage. Oh, surprise, it was like, what, $30 and like 50 now for Smugglers and Karn? So, colorless, crazy, it could drop it into any deck. Colorless 7 cost, okay, now you gotta balance that. Okay, cost 7. Could just anybody run that? No. Now, a colorless 1 cost or 2 cost that's really popular, now we're talking. Then you ask yourself, is there already a better version of this? So for Scape Shift, no. It's so unique, no. Omniscience, hell no. So you look at all the dragons, extremely high cost, 3 color. That's already a huge, huge negative. Absolutely huge, gigantic negative to the price. The only way to run a 3-color dragon is to run a 3-color deck. And I'm not saying that you can't just splash a color or, oh, this is the only one, it's a 2-color deck, oh, but it runs a 3-color dragon, and some of my lands or permanents can either filter or generate, 1 color 1 time, or, just whatever. But those decks, you add inconsistency, you add unreliability by doing that. So, I mean, everybody looked at Joda the Archmage and they're like, holy crap, I pay 5 and just free cast anything? That's crazy. You know what else is crazy? Trying to run a 5-color deck, okay? It's virtually impossible. I'm not saying it's undoable, but damn is it hard, and it's slow. You need like perfect drops and like evolving wilds, and you play a turn behind, you use every, 5-color land, every dual land, and still things have to go right. Still you can mulligan yourself into oblivion. Then you have to actually go get Joda. It's like the definition of an unplayable card in Standard. It's wonderful, it's hyper powerful, it's one of the most powerful cards I've ever seen, to be perfectly honest. I would say it's better than Marvel, except Marvel was colorless. That's why Marvel took off and they had to ban it, okay? That's the difference between Joda and Marvel, is Joda is 5-color. Also, they work slightly differently, but still. So every one of these 3-color dragons, just no. So then other people's arguments were, well, it's only for Commander. That's why it's $15, it's for Commander. Okay. Do you realize the sheer print volume of M19? If somebody runs 4 Fatal Pushes because it's a good, useful card in Standard, debatably, maybe Aether Hub's a better example, people will run 4 of them. If you go to Commander, it can only have 1 of every card. So right off the bat, there are far more Standard players and Standard decks and Standard customers out there than Commander. It's not even close. Commander's popular, but Standard is the product. It's what most local gaming stores do for F&M. It's what people buy and what people play. And an additional factor is Commander players need 1 of the card. Fatal Push, Aether Hub, stuff like that. People need 4 of the card. Like even Sun Petal, people need 4 of those if you're running, what even is that? White, green? So if each individual person building a deck needs 4, or each individual person needs 1, there goes 75% of the demand for the product, and then, oh, it's not for Standard, it won't even be played in Standard, the card's virtually unplayable in Standard, oh, but it's for Commander. You could easily have dropped the customer demand 10-1 by having it be only in Commander. But it gets even worse than this. Let's go back to everybody's favorite, Scape Shift. Who will buy Scape Shift? Okay, I'll give you this people would play 4 of it. That's basically a given. And that's why if a card's legendary, that's a little, take a couple points off for maybe the price will go up because, will everybody run 4 of it? But no, this one, yes, it'll be 4 of it. Like Planeswalkers and stuff, not everybody's like, yep, put 4 in. You know, even like, what was it, Chandra. People were playing like 2 back in the day. Well, there goes 50% of the demand compared to like a dual land. But Scape Shift, okay, I'll give it that. It's monocolored. It costs 4, which is pretty reasonable. Absolutely worthless and useless in standard, like almost. I mean, there's some kind of obscure things people do, but this isn't just like, hey, look, a 1-cost kill spell, where it's like, yeah, duh, of course it's going to be popular. I mean, you look at the Resplendent Angel or whatever it's called, a 3-cost flyer, and it generates 4/4 tokens every time you gain life. Yeah, people play white. Yeah, people like flyers. Yeah, people gain life. Usability, 10 out of 10. Obvious, well, 9 out of 10, it's double white. Hell, 9.5 out of 10. That's not that big of a factor. So Scape Shift, let's just say it's useless in standard. Okay, there goes basically all the demand for it. But who is going to buy Scape Shift then? Because remember, for the price to be high, it doesn't just need to be powerful. There need to be people buying these. Because if 100 of them are listed on eBay and 10 sell, everybody's going to undercut each other over, day after day after day until it hits $2. So who is the customer base for Scape Shift? Who is buying Scape Shift? Everyone's like, well, but people played it's in this deck. That deck's powerful. Okay, so people who wanted to play Scape Shift built it and played it. They already own the deck. And this is the comment I left in reply to a whole bunch of the comments on that video. So you're telling me, because probably about 10,000 copies of this are about to go out, maybe a lot more. I mean, I don't have the exact print volume. Nobody does anymore. But let's just say 10,000 copies of Scape Shift are about to hit the public. Even 5,000. Okay, everybody needs 4. Cool, divide it by 4. I'll even be generous and say, okay, 1,000 playsets are about to hit the market. 1,000 people worldwide are like, Scape Shift, yes, that deck. I'm aware of that deck. I want that deck. Didn't already buy it and build it, but they were just waiting for, okay, Scape Shift to come down in price. Maybe they're like, oh, I really want to play this, but, what was it, like $50 a card, 35, 40, something like that. Yeah, okay, somebody wanted to build more of like a budget-ish, like $200-$300 modern deck instead of like a $2,000 modern deck. Okay, I'll give them that. That's an amount of people. Let's see, what's Scape Shift going for right now? Oh, that's right, $19. So for the last, let's see, it came out in Morningtide, so... I gotta remember when they actually invented Modern. Okay, whatever the hell this deck was invented, since then until now, everyone was like, yes, that deck, but it's just too expensive, I can't build it. So they waited and waited and waited, and now Scape Shift, because everybody told me Scape Shift's worth $20. It's gonna stay at $20, it's not gonna drop. I said it'll hit $5, and I'm like, no, you're wrong. Okay, so it dropped from, what, 30 to 20? And now that's acceptable. Let's build the deck. Let's go. I'm all in. $20? Hell yeah. I was just not willing to pay $1 above $20. Now that it's $20, woo, pre-order. We're going to have so many customers that it's going to stay at $20 forever. Yeah, that sounds realistic. That's definitely what's going to happen to 10,000 copies of frickin' Scape Shift. So in my previous example, okay, 1,000 playsets are going out, so 1,000 people are going to build this deck at $20 a card. I mean, I'll even give it to you at $5 a card, maybe 1,000 people are going to pick up a playset and build this as a deck. But the whole deck would have to be so dirt cheap. People are just like, it looks kind of interesting. I'll build it. Why not? I just have too much money. Because remember, there's still the land base. There's still the custom, exotic lands that you need for that deck. There's still all the, the supporting stuff. Titan Shift runs Titan. I mean, right now with today's reprint price of Scape Shift, it's a $571 deck. Ouch. So it was what, $650 before? So I don't know, 6 something. Who's like, yeah, $570, that's my price. I'm gonna build it all of a sudden. Now that Magic card quality's gone to shit and all the paper's a different density, now I'm gonna pick up a copy. Now's the time to strike, everybody. Are you kidding me? This card is garbage, okay? It's in some obscure shit decks that nobody plays, and there's gonna be way too many printed to exactly precisely fill and not exceed the demand for the card. Nothing good happens when even it's a 2-to-1 ratio where 10,000 of the card are for sale, 5,000 people want it, okay? Honestly, if 5,005 versions of the card are for sale and 5,000 people want it, that's a problem. When you're gonna get a maintained price or a slight bump in price is when 6,000 people want it and 5,000 versions are for sale. Now you've got something, okay? When it's like 10,000 floating around and maybe 100 people will build the deck, Uh-oh. So you have to look at non-standard cards and standard sets differently than Conspiracy. I would dare to say that 30 times less boxes were printed of Conspiracy than a standard set. It might have been 50 times less. It might have been 100 times less. You guys just don't understand how big standard actually is. Even if I'm completely wrong and people are like, ooh, Birds of Paradise, and it was 5 times less than standard, well, guess what? It's still 5 times less than standard, okay? Okay, some card from Conspiracy, there's 1,000 of them for sale, and 1,000 people are like, yeah, I'll buy it for that. You know, it fell from 30 to 15. Yeah, I'll take it for 15. I need that card. The example I always use is customers waiting in line for it. Like, there's people waiting in line for fetch lands to go down in price again, okay? People were, like, lined up out the door ready to buy fetch lands when they were announced in cons because people were like, holy crap, they're finally going to be reasonable in price. And it turned out the demand was just so high. Every commander deck, every modern deck, every deck, every format basically needs fetch lands. They are incorrectly considered the best lands in Magic. And everyone is under the incorrect impression that they need them in every single deck under every circumstance. Not if your deck and your strategy and what you're playing against cares about your life total. Then run the single check lands. Oh, or if nothing in your deck costs 1. So hopefully you get my point about Scape Shift and other cards that people are like, yeah, but it's not for a standard. If it's not for standard, it's not worth money. The end. I mean, that's almost like the entirety of it. I mean, fetch lands, everybody wanted them for their standard decks. Everybody wanted them for modern. Everybody wanted them for commander. Everybody wanted them, period. That's why they didn't really go down, and still at that print volume, they did go down. I mean, they didn't stay down, but I mean, the other thing is, okay, Birds of Paradise in Conspiracy 2. They hit what, $6? They're honestly probably back up at this point. It is almost impossible to print enough copies of Birds of Paradise to push it down to $2. Just too many people want it. It's too universal to too many decks that run green or green mix. And I mean, people in standard wanted Fatal Push. People in modern wanted Fatal Push. If you take out just modern, okay, if it's popular in standard, people still play it. I don't think anybody's playing Rekindling Phoenix like crazy in modern. I mean, I'm sure somebody put it in something. It's pretty good. But it's not like the new have-to-have card, you know, like Eldrazi. That took over modern. Like, Reality Smasher's price was because of modern. So that's another factor. Is it wanted in multiple formats? The format it's actually printed in, standard, and another format. If the answer is no, but it's in standard, but nobody wants it in standard, it's almost completely universally disqualified from being worth anything, really. So the only reason that Scape Shift is $20 is because they think that people will pay it. And honestly, people are that dumb. Some people. Very few people, but some people. So for every single Elder Dragon, okay, 3 color, high cost, good but not that good, absolutely dead on arrival and unplayable in standard. I think we just took, like, if demand was on 0 to 100, we just took it from 100 down to about 6, maybe. Triple color, obscure, high cost, never seen before, not in any popular decks, and they're just not good. There's nothing making these cards worth anything above even $2. They're just not. And then people are stupid enough to say collectors. Okay, what percentage of the market are collectors? I'll give you a hint. It's less than 1% when it comes to standard, okay? You look at Jace, Spellbook or whatever, it's almost all collectors. If you look at just some random card from standard, it's very few collectors. Like, some people are like, I want every version of Nissa because I like Nissa. I have a Nissa binder. Okay, cool, but if Nissa's selling, it's because people are playing with her, okay? It's not Nissa collectors driving up the price. They are such an just insignificant portion of the market. I mean, you might as well just ignore them, just from a mathematical standpoint. So, I mean, there are tons of other factors, because a lot of people are saying, okay, you said it's not a good card because this, and this, but what you're forgetting is, oh, this one factor. Like, oh, yeah, there's this, yeah, it's high cost, yeah, it's triple color, yeah, it's this. Oh, but it would be a good commander. Okay, so that negates all the rest of the people that aren't buying it. Okay, so you removed, on the demand scale, you knocked it down from 100 down to 10. Oh, but it went back up to 11 because some people wanted to be their commander. Well, that negates it all. It's back up to 100. No, that's not how it works. Oh, collectors. Oh, guys, now it's at 11.1. So let's just lightning round the other things that I, consider. Is there a better version of the card? Is there a similar version of the card, and this is the second iteration of it? Like, oh, people really wanted to play with this, but you could only run 4 of. Oh, now there's 8, because this is like the same card that does the same thing. Okay, now that might be a deck. But then you're like, well, is there a better version of Walk the Plank? Yeah, Fatal Push. I mean, depending upon who your opponent is. I still don't really like Fatal Push. It's kind of unreliable. But it costs half in its, instant speed, so it is arguably better. That's what Walk the Plank never took off. I mean, yeah, it's quick, it removes stuff, but almost the entirety of the value was, is there a better card? And there just was. And then how narrow, how restrictive is it? So yeah, the legendary sorceries are wonderful. Oh, except your deck has to be running a pretty high amount of legendaries. And that you could just roll that into how many decks could this realistically be played in? Like if you're like, this card looks absolutely just insane. The power level of this card is crazy. But you could really only drop it into a dinosaur deck because it says for each dinosaur, or it only triggers when dinosaurs do this or whatever. Or like, wow, this card's really good, but it only works with vampires. How restrictive are the decks that it works with? How wide open is the synergy? So I love to give real world examples. Panharmonicon. Colorless, okay. Somewhat reasonable mana cost, okay. Those are all huge factors. And then ETB. It works with anything with an enters the battlefield effect, with like the weird exceptions that they list on the card. Okay, and that's why Panharmonicon cost like $10 at one point. Anyone can play it. It works with anything. It doesn't cost $8. It's powerful, it's good, and it has a ton of interactions. You know, that would have been one where I would have said, yes, keep your eyes on this. This is good. Or if before I even saw the pre-order price, I would have said, yeah, this is probably an $8 card. You know, I'd say that's maybe where I dial it into. It looks pretty damn good. Forebear's Blade, which, by the way, tripled in price since I made that video, FYI. Are you guys getting tired of me shoving it in everybody's faces where they said I was wrong and then I come back and just prove I was right? Because I'm not getting sick of it and I'm going to keep doing it. After rotation, it's going to hit $3. I can virtually guarantee that. Unless a better sword is printed. That's the thing. It's colorless, it's cheap, it works. And what is it? What synergy does it have? Oh yeah, creatures. It works with creatures at all. It goes in any deck color-wise, it's cheap and it works with creatures. It's a 99 out of 100 for like investment potential and just it's insanely strong. So then, okay, is the deck colors already popular? I might have mentioned this, but it's like Teferi. I mean, he's blue-white. You can only put him in a blue-white deck. He's really damn good, but regardless, you can only put him in a blue-white deck without like some weird freak casting him or something. Well, guess what? Approach of the Second Sun, it already had the structure of the framework. People turned one into like no win condition to Fairy Karn. Other people turned it into Walking Ballista Super Ramp. Other people kept Approach. I mean, the framework was there, the deck was there, and people were playing it super heavily. That's why everybody is super closely scrutinizing anything that looks good in red. Because mono red rush, it's so good they had to already ban it. Ooh, add that to the list. Did they already have to ban the deck that this would go in? Well, then cross-reference it with, and are people still playing it? Because honestly, people are still playing like 3-color energy. I mean, yeah, they banned Attune and Rogue, but people are still playing it. It's still good. It's just not as good. So if they printed like this crazy card that worked with energy in M19, I'd be like, oh, watch out. That deck has already proven to be a thing, and it's on people's radar. The framework, the structure are there. That's why any red card that costs 1, 2, or 3, watch out. If it costs 6, forget it. That's not the deck it goes in. You can't just stop at, well, it's red. No, red and fast. That's what people are playing right now. It has to be red and early. So all these factors go together. You cannot pick one thing. Well, it's a commander, so there it is. $20. Well, it's played in this one obscure deck. Okay, $20. You have to look at the whole picture. And that's the number one point that I don't think people were getting in that last video. That's why almost every single one of those top cards they just all deserve to across the board be $5, except for the Angel, which is honestly probably going to hit 30. That card is sheer power. So that's why when I was assessing each individual card, I said, well, here's the pros, here's the cons, and here's all this evidence, put it all together, consider all things, even things I didn't say in the video because I didn't want to, hit all these like 10 different categories for every single card. I just wanted a best of highlights reel, basically. And then all things considered, and based on just my vast experience selling cards and looking at cards that go up and down and why they go up and down and understanding why they go up and down and what formats and what, demand volumes and shifts in the market cause what to happen price-wise, here's my result. This card is overpriced 4-1. It should be $5. So that's why if somebody just goes, oh, you're wrong about this. It is going to stay at $20. It might even go up. Well, you damn well better have a whole pile of evidence because what I used to price it at $5 was an entire pile of evidence. Like all the evidence. There is no more evidence unless I'm missing something. So once again, if you think I'm wrong, leave a comment down in the comment section saying, no, this is why this card's going to be big. You forgot about this. There's this modern deck that went down in popularity, but it's going to come back. And it used to be 20% of the meta, and then they banned a card in it, but this will re-enable that deck. So people are going to want it like crazy. It'll take over all of modern like the Eldrazi did. And that's why it's worth $20. Because, yeah, I don't sit there and watch every little thing about the history of Magic for the last 10 years. It's possible that one overriding huge super factor will jump jump up the price of a card. But all the evidence I looked at for these was just, hey, these cards are crap. They are just absolute garbage. And they are, so don't pre-order them. It's really that simple. Oh, and one really important factor to remember is this isn't my opinion versus your opinion, and we'll leave it at that. We're gonna find out in a month if I'm right or not and if you're wrong or not. So maybe before you go spouting off all this bullshit and putting your head on the line, just know that the executioner's axe is coming, and it's called the prices of M19. We are going to find out if I'm right or you're right, and FYI, it's probably going to be me. So keep that in mind before you get your little fingers on your little keyboards and shitpost some stupid bullshit in my comment section. Hopefully you enjoyed this How to Value Cards 101 documentary, and I'll see you guys next video. And in a month when we see what happened to M19.